Oh, hello. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Warhammer Underworlds, especially the fact they've just put a whole load of new files up for download on Warhammer Community. It's a little bit weird and confusing what they've done. And so this is me as a kind of Warhammer Underworlds toe dipper, casual observer, and I'm going to go through some of the things that they've said. So, okay, they've uploaded a couple of different things. The core rules, the organised play guide, the tournament companion, digital rules for 13 warbands, and generic rules for other old warbands. And I'll read through their pros in a minute, but a couple of things I want to say. So we've got a free core rulebook, which is like a bit of a slap in the face to us kill teamers, and it is mainly a kill team channel. We didn't get a full rulebook, but the reason is, right, if you want to play Warhammer Underworlds, you have to buy the new Warhammer Underworlds box, because you need the board and you need the 4 generic decks of cards, right? So giving away the rulebook for free doesn't actually cost them any money, and so what it will let them do is to update the rulebook as they go with erratas and FAQs, keep it up to date as a PDF in line with what they're doing. So it's the way of them doing a thing which kind of helps the game, in that they can update the rulebook, but they've been allowed to do it, I would say, because it hasn't cost them any sales. Whereas the Kill Team rulebook, well, that's a product they'd like you to buy, and they really need, James Workshop needs to eat, right, apparently, so he needs that rulebook, the miniatures, the paints, brushes, the big boxes, that's not enough. He needs you to buy that rulebook. You wouldn't want to take food out of James Workshop's mouth, right? So, okay, core rules. It's my little rant over. We got an organised play guide, which is like campaign, like tournaments should be fun, and here's how you speak to a judge and stuff like that, which is nice to have. It's pretty generic. I would have included it in the rulebook, to be honest, like at the back, to try and advertise people that buy the game that tournaments would exist, but it is pretty cool to have. And then the tournament's companion, which we'll look at in a second, which talks about which teams and which boards and which decks of cards are going to be tournament legal. And then we've got digital rules for 13 warbands and generic rules for other warbands. So, I'll read through their pros, or some of it. I've taken the useful bits. Also available for immediate download are the digital warband rules for 13 warbands in the rotation for organised play. These are the most frequently released warbands that haven't yet been repackaged for the new editions. The Star Striders, who use a flex team, the Sepulchral Guard, a take and hold team, Iron Souls Condemners, which are a flex team, Molog's Mob, which are a mastery team, Thorns of the Briar Queen, take and hold team, Spikeclaw's Swarm, a strike team, Zarbag Gitz, a take and hold team, the Skinnerkin, a strike team, the Brethren of the Bolt, a mastery team, the Thricefold Discord, a mastery team, Kirani's Razors, a flex team, Dagok's Stab Lads, a mastery team, and Zondara's Gravebreakers, a mastery team. So, you could take these rules and pair your models with any of the 4 Rivals decks in the Emberguard core set, or the forthcoming Reckless Fury and Rack and Ruin decks, and you'll be ready to start playing. So, Emberguard released on Saturday. I still don't have, I think, was it Saturday, or is it next Saturday? It went on pre-order recently. I think it's releasing next Saturday. And they still haven't put up for pre-order. If you remember the last video I did about Underworlds, they announced that they were repackaging a bunch of teams for the new edition, and they were selling the cards and the rules for those teams. This is not those teams. So those repacks, they've not put those up for pre-order yet. So, and they've not made the rules for them free either. So, even if you have, say the Crimson Core at home, you won't be able to play with them on release day, right? They're coming later, okay? Hopefully only a couple of weeks later, but they're coming later. Whereas these teams, for I think it's looking like 2 weeks. I'm expecting to see those Underworlds repacks come up on the Sunday preview this Sunday. So it's looking like for 2 weeks, the only teams in the game are going to be these digital teams that I've just listed out, plus the 2 teams in the box. And that'll be all of the teams, right? it doesn't feel like what they're doing is re-releasing the miniatures for these. This is entirely a get-you-buy for people that have these miniatures. Let's keep reading because it gets really interesting. Okay. So you can take these rules and pair your models in any of the full Rivals decks, yes. Finally, you're able to download the rules for all the remaining warbands from the previous edition, the ones which aren't entering the organised play rotation at this time. Each warband has its own fighter card, with a choice of 2 warband war scroll cards for each Grand Alliance, offering 2 ways to play each warband. These seem kind of rubbish. They're like really super get-you-buy rules, okay? You don't have any flavour at all to them, really. Okay. Order warbands can be Crusaders or Protectors. Chaos warbands are Corruptors or Slayers. Death warbands use Dark Majesty or Necromancy. Destruction warbands use Brutal or Cunning. It really feels like a cop-out. Okay. So, really, these teams are, I guess we'd call them legends, right? They're not properly balanced. They're not really properly flavourful. And they're not valid for organised play. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Many of these warbands will return later in the edition in a similar manner to the 4 Grand Alliance boxes, granting them their own war scroll and updated fighter cards. At this point, you can expect some other warbands to rotate out of the organised play formats as these new ones replace them. More on that in the future. Now, this is the most intriguing bit. So, I take this to mean the 13 digital warbands that we've got rules for today. These are essentially your compendium. If you play Kill Team, you know what I'm talking about. These are the teams that they've picked to come out of the gate at launch and sit alongside the 2 teams in the core box, so that on launch day, there are 15 teams. Okay. Now, about 2 weeks after launch day, I suspect we'll then get 16 more teams added as the Rebox teams come out, right? And then pretty soon after that, probably this year, I would expect we'll see that the Plague Bearers and the Saurus, right? So that will be your kind of suite of teams. Then what I think will happen later on, they'll keep releasing new teams, and then assumably they're going to go back and revisit all these teams currently in the generic rules section and bring those out as a plastic release with physical cards, at which point they will retire some of these digital teams. So actually, even though these digital teams have rules now, and it feels like they're the ones that are being favoured by GW, I actually feel like in the long run, it'll be the ones that have been left behind now that end up being a part of the core rotation for longer. So let's just talk about this. So we've got the brand new teams, right? We've got four tiers of team I want you to think about. So we've got the brand new teams, and these are the ones that I've covered in the previous video. So the 2 in the core box and the 2 that have been sort of trailed. So we've got the Skaven and the Stormcast from the core box. We've got the Plague Bearers and the Saurus. Those are straightforwardly coming out brand new teams. Buy your team, comes with its faction cards, pair it with any of the generic decks, and away you go, right? Then we've got the returning teams with box releases. I talked about these in my last Underworlds video. I'm not going to go over this again, but this is essentially 4 teams from each Grand Alliance packaged together in a box with physical cards, or you can buy the physical cards separately, right? Then we've got these digital teams that have been launched today. Okay, these, as far as I can tell, the models are not getting re-released and they're not getting physical cards, but they are surprisingly fully tournament legal, which I was not expecting, right? We had that video from the preview where I remember quite clearly Nick Baton came on the screen and he said something like, the teams that are legal for tournament play are the teams that you'll be able to buy on Warhammer.com. It's that simple. And it seems like Nick has been betrayed, I think, by the higher-ups at Games Workshop, because it feels like these digital teams are not purchasable, which makes me really feel like they have been brought out so that if you're having because they've not managed to bring out alongside the Emberguard box, the Rebox teams with the cards, and because they've decided not to give away the rules for those teams for free, they've now come out with these teams. So if you're running a tournament, like a launch day tournament, this will be your field. This is, again, I think, essentially the Kill Team Compendium. So they're not getting re-released, they're not getting physical cards as far as I can tell. Okay, they're certainly not getting physical cards. If they suddenly appear on Warhammer.com as a plastic release, that will be quite interesting. But they are fully tournament legal, but they're in danger of getting phased out. Right? And we don't know yet how quickly. So my very clear advice to you is, if like me, you're thinking, I have pre-ordered Emberguard. If like me, you're thinking of getting into Warhammer Underworlds, it seems to be having a bit of a rough. This feels a bit of a rough launch, just in terms of it's quite hard to get your head around. I feel right. So I wouldn't rush out to eBay and pick up any of these teams, these 13 teams we're talking about today, because I just don't have confidence that they're going to stay sort of tournament legal for a long time. Now, you may be sitting there going, but Phil, I'm going to play Underworlds with my gaming group in, a church hall once a fortnight. I don't care about tournaments. And if that's you, that's fine. And maybe you really like these teams and you can see that they've got updated rules and you want to rush out and buy them. I'm not your dad. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just for those people who care about playing the tournament legal teams, either because they plan to attend tournaments or because they they worry that the teams that are no longer fully tournament legal are going to not be balanced as actively, right? I would not go and spend a lot of money on these models on the secondary market. Now, I have the Sepulchral Guard. Will I print out the Sepulchral Guard cards and have a go at the game with my Sepulchral Guard? Maybe. Depending on how much I get into the game. I mean, as much as I've pre-ordered Warhammer Underworlds, like speaking to my lovely wife, she really now wants the Saurus, and then again not going to be out for a little while, so likely I'll have time to wait for the rules for my Crimson Court, paint those up and play those, and then if I really don't like the Crimson Court, I might give the Sepulchral Guard a try since I have them, but I wouldn't be rushing out to buy any of these teams. And also, playing with printed cards seems a bit just not quite the tactile experience that you want, right? And then separately to all of this, we've got the war bands of the Grand Alliances, right? So these are the older teams. They are not tournament legal. They're in a single PDF on the download section, which is the slowest loading and least optimized PDF I've seen since Warcry. They are generic, get you by kind of rules. They seem like, I'm not a Warhammer Underworlds expert, right? They seem like they kind of suck because they are a thin, flavourless gruel. Okay, there is nothing there really to give those teams much in the way of character. They have character cards, but all the special rules have been taken off the character cards, and they have generic warband cards, and so there's nothing that makes them feel particularly interesting to me. As a person that doesn't really understand the game, they seem a bit of a miss. So I would totally avoid the Warbands of the Grand Alliance team as a complete non-starter. I would, if you want to get into the game, honestly, like always, your best thing to do is to jump in with the new stuff, right? You're going to have the easiest ride if what you want to play is the Skaven or the Stormcast, or the Plague Bearers, or the Saurus. If you don't want any of those things, because you're like me, you love death, your next best thing, and the best supporter you're going to have, is to jump in with one of the returning teams that are being resold, and do it that way. Or, if you want, and you already have them, you can look at these digital teams, but I would give a really wide berth to the Warband of the Grand Alliances team. That's my take. You might find, I'm sure there's Underworlds people out there that have been following this more clearly, that were veterans of the last edition, and may have a more nuanced take, but this is my take. Okay, so I've got an extract here from the Organised Play Format guide. Okay, so organised play format rules are designed to ensure the ongoing balance of Warhammer Underworld in a tournament and league setting, in addition to defining which products are valid for tournament league play. This format document is regularly updated with new warbands and Rivals decks. So in the Rivals format, players pick a pre-built 32-card deck known as a Rivals deck. A player's Rivals deck is made from cards that only feature in that deck's unique symbol, which means if you have at least one Rivals deck and one Warband from the list below, you have everything you need to join in with the competitive accessible format. I mean, that's not true, is it? You need tokens and a board as well, but I'll let that slide. Maybe they're going to provide boards at Warhammer World, who knows? Now this is interesting. Warbands. A player can pick any Warhammer Underworld's warband with from the following seasons, denoted by the season icon. Warhammer Underworld's Ember Guard. Right. In addition, the player can pick any Warhammer Underworld's warband from the following list of downloads to use in the Rivals format, and we see the 13 teams that have been released today. So, they are counting the returning teams, the ones in box releases. They are fully part of the Ember Guard season, right? They are fully part of the Ember Guard season. They've not listed them all out here. They will be considered part of Ember Guard, right? Which means that Ember Guard is going to be, as the game goes on, Ember Guard is going to be pretty massive, which makes me think that the next set, once this has all come out, this will probably be it for this year, right? And then what I'm expecting they're going to do is that and I don't know, is next year they will bring out another set of returning teams in plastic, and they will retire these digital teams. I think these digital teams, they haven't said this explicitly, I think what's going to happen is digital teams are going to be tournament legal for a year, just like we've seen in Kill Team, where they did that with the sort of the oldest teams they were bringing in from the first season. These teams here are going to be around for, I would expect, for 1 year. So, and then we got Rivals decks from Ember Guard and boards from Ember Guard. Okay, good. Including alternate art game boards found in organised play packs, which is interesting. So they're going to give out boards that are mechanically identical but have different art on. That's pretty cool. Not going to lie. So that's interesting. What I wanted to do now is just put these are the digital teams, and I thought I'd put them on the screen just because reading out the names means nothing to a lot of people who buy Warhammer Underworlds models for other things, right? So these are the teams that on launch day have rules that are fully tournament legal, that you can use alongside the two teams in the core box, right? So, if you've already got your core box, you can be playing with these right now. You can go to your dining room table, grab your Skinnerkin, let's say, and then you can play a game of the new Warhammer Underworlds right now. And if I was that guy, and if this was the main content of my channel, I'd be like, wait, wonderful, we've got a whole year, presumably, with all of these teams. This is a great selection of teams. As someone that's kind of getting into this as like a second game, potentially, I haven't got my core set yet. Still on the way, right? And I'm thinking, well, I've got the Sepulchral Guard. I've got the Sepulchral Guard built and painted, and like I say, I may play them, but I'm definitely not going to run out and get any of these. I was speaking to my lovely wife. She thinks she has the Stormcast ones somewhere, but honestly, she kind of wants to start with the Saurus because she's kind of gotten over Stormcast and wants to focus on Lizardmen. Neither of us have got the returning team that we'd really want, right? I would want the Sons of Velmorn, and she would want the little skinks. And it's upsetting that they haven't come back, but actually, potentially, it's a good thing because it means that they might come back in a more permanent way later on. And I just wanted to moan about this some more. They've brought back the wrong skeletons, and this is what makes me think that actually, the ones that they haven't brought out as digital teams, in the long run, they're going to be around for longer. Because these Sons of Velmorn are just, like, as a connoisseur of skeletons, these are just some of the best undead models that Games Workshop ever made. That's not to say that the Sepulchral Guard aren't also great. They are, right? They were awesome when they came out, but the Sons of Velmorn are more awesome. I think we can all agree. So it's an interesting one. Now, what I noticed when I was putting this slide together to have a little moan is there are exactly 4 death teams that are using the weird generic rules at the moment. So the Sons of Velmorn, the Exiled Dead, Durpor's Wraith Creepers, and Lady Harrow's Mournflight. So then what I did was I went and looked, and I thought to myself, this is interesting, because does it mean if they're literally, I know, so on the press release, if we just go back a minute, on the press release here, it said, many of these warbands will return later in the edition in a similar manner to the 4 Grand Alliance boxes. So, does it follow that they're going to bring out all of these, all 4 Destruction warbands, all 4 Death warbands, and then 4 of the Order warbands and 4 of the Chaos warbands, so they can once again do 4, like a second season of returning warbands in 4 big boxes, right? So, that's, from my point of view, cool, because I'd love to get the Sons of Velmorn back. I'm not fussed on these other 3, but I'd love to get the Sons of Velmorn back. From Helen's point of view, my lovely wife, she particularly wants is it the Starblood Stalkers, right? The little, so it's even odds, isn't it, really, whether you're going to get, or worse than even odds, actually, you're going to pick 4 of these. There's actually 1 in 3 chance that you're going to get the team that you really want. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in future. Honestly, I think this has been a really bad article because it doesn't make a lot of sense. Because they put out a previous article that said, these are the teams, referring to the ones that they're boxing up, right? These are the teams that are going to be legal alongside the core teams. These are the ones we've picked. And then you go out and you think to yourself, right, well, launch day is going to come up. My local gaming stores organised a launch day tournament, pretty common thing. That's cool. I'm going to paint my Crimson Court, just because I love the Crimson Court. So I'm going to paint my Crimson Court and I'm going to take them down and play them on launch day. And then what actually happened is the rules for the Crimson Court and all those other teams that are getting re-released in plastic are paywalled behind having to buy the cards. And I'm not moaning about that. I don't mind. Like, I prefer to get, I don't mind paying for the cards because it is a card game. And actually, I want to have the physical card, I think. Right? But, here's the thing. If you're playing in launch day now, actually, you've got to prepare one of these teams instead. Because they kind of went and changed what they said they were doing. Or, presumably they didn't change anything. But, like I said, they did that video with Nick. And they said, and then Nick said to camera all earnest, like the ones that are available in playing tournament play will be the ones you can buy on Warhammer Community. Then they had the whole article that said, these are the ones we're releasing. And it's like, cool. And now they've come back and said, actually, these are going to be tournament legal. And it seems like a weird thing to moan about. Like, more teams than we advertised are going to be tournament legal. But it just seems slightly weird. And then these digital teams are the ones that I think, from my reading of the article, these digital teams are the ones that are in danger of being phased out in favour of some of the other teams that currently are just in the get you buy rules. I know there's a couple of people that live in my comments who are okay, black screen, ignore that. I know that there are a couple of people who live in my comments who are Underworlds kind of pros, Underworlds wise heads. Can you make any more sense of this than me? What's happened to it? Like, it seems weird. And it's frustrating because it feels like GW are botching the launch, right, of a game. And the game might be really good, right? People who just Andy, right, who generally has a good take on things, has had the game early and has played a bunch of it and has said, it's pretty fun. Other people that have got and then I do consume other content creators. It's not just the Andy fan club, but like people generally who've got the thing early are positively disposed to it. Now, okay, people aren't shills, but they do have subconscious bias. If I give you something for free, you're going to look more favourably on it than something you've paid 60 quid for. That's just human nature, sure. But the game itself could be really good. I don't actually know. I haven't played it. right? The game itself can be really good, but this very kind of confusing messaging around the launch is gonna... Let me put it this way. They really need to hope that they attract a whole load of new people to their game, because this is going to do a really good job of alienating the old guard. The people who are keeping... Now, granted, that's not many people. Arguably, you know, the joke I made last time was it's Nick Baton and 24 of his closest friends that go to Warhammer World on the regular. It sometimes feels that way when you look at Warhammer Underworld stuff, but I'm sure it is played by more people. But they do seem to be doing a really good job of alienating that audience with this confused messaging saying, oh, these are going to be the legal teams. Oh, actually, and all of these teams. And we haven't put the rules for this first set on pre-order, so now if you want to play something other than the first two teams, you're going to play one of these ones. And maybe you've already put those on eBay because you knew they weren't going to be the things, and now these guys are the things, but now these are also the things. Maybe I'm just being a weirdo. Like, let me know in the comments. Am I making a valid point here, or am I just spinning my wheels pointlessly? Let me know if you're dead positive. You might be. You might be like, oh yeah, the Sepulchral Guard. I mean, not everyone is obsessed with skeletons as I am, but these are the ones whose names I've learned, right? Oh, the Sepulchral Guard are my favourites. I'm glad that even if only for like a year or 6 months, whatever it turns out to be, I'm glad that they're going to be like tournament legal, like fully tournament legal for at least a bit. I've got them because I played in Season 1. I've got them ready to go. I can print out the data cards, and now I can rock up at my FLGS and I can play in a launch day, like learn the game thing, and that's great, right? So some of these teams are teams that people will have because they were early doors teams. Not many of them, most of them are the later teams, but like the Sepulchral Guard and the what do they call the Fast Riders? I think by dint of the fact they were re-released later, you know, people might have those. So I can see there's positives to it. I don't want... The video shouldn't come off ranty or negative. What I hope the video comes off is confused. I've tried to shed some light on what I think is happening, but maybe I've just added more confusion. But let me know. Let me know. I know some people who are watching this going, but you said there was going to be Kill Team content. You didn't do any Kill Team content at the weekend. Where's the Kill Team content? I've sat through an entire Underworlds video just because I love you, Phil, but I don't actually want to play Underworlds. Thursday. Why Thursday, Phil? Because today's Monday, yes, we know. Tomorrow, Tuesday, is when Zimbad comes round to play Kill Team, so I can't make a video because I'm playing the game. But hopefully I have some anecdotes to talk about in a video. That'd be good. Wednesday is Hobby Stream. So Thursday, I'll do a video probably on the Eleusidian Star Striders. Unless there's loads of news that comes out for Underworlds or for Kill Team or another game that I think it's worth covering on the channel. Like, shouldn't do Underworlds, I should just do Kill Team videos, blah blah blah, gonna kill each channel, blah blah blah, don't care. Just a bloke in a fetching Snorlax Udi, right? Uniform of my generational cohort, I think. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm starting to ramble about nothing, so it's clearly time for me to finish. I'll see you again next time. Bye bye bye, bye 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 bye, bye 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 bye.